Howdy, this is the LGBTQ plus section of our children's literature discourse. So LGBT, I almost said the Q, LBGT came about kind of a while ago, and it was replaced by just using gay and then sometimes lesbian because people wanted more specifics. There were a lot of things to be covered under this term, and so it's been a pretty popular way to frame things, and you're all quite familiar with it, I'm certain, since you haven't been around as long as I've been. So then they added queer, I'm not sure when, years after that, and that was to really just enhance and increase the coverage of what was being covered under this term. The deal with queer, though, it can still be used as a derogatory term. So, you're not supposed to call someone queer, I don't think. Some people are proud about it. I introduced myself as a queer. But what queer has done is kind of given us an umbrella term, right? So that we can cover a lot of different categories under kind of one term. So that's been working pretty good. But a lot of times you'll still see it like this, LGBTQIA+. So the I is intersectional and the A is asexual. And there's a bunch more. Pansexual. So there's all sorts of stuff, right, that goes under this umbrella. And you're wondering, why are we talking about this in children's books? We're talking about it because the deal is, as you know, children are in this world and they see this world and they're impacted by this world. And so obviously we need to make sure that we roll out some appropriate, reflective, respectful, and interesting books that cover the topics of children's lives. So I thought this was interesting that that the impact is there. And if we, again, like we've said for all of our different cultures and sociocultures, that if we provide positive images and less stereotypes, then things are going to just be better all the way around. And that's for sure. This I like this quote too, that children want to be reflected in the world. We've talked about it. So if their families are different, or if they're different than the dominant culture, then what is considered the norm, then they want to see themselves in the world. It just, the windows and mirrors thing applies to just about every category, right? And that includes LGBTQ families as well. So they want books, right? Rich books, stories and things. They want the real deal, and they don't want this. But I have included this because what happened at the onset of starting to reflect children's families in picture books of LGBTQ community is that they were just really, a lot of them were really weird. They're always about, oh yeah, I'm a lesbian with kids, or daddy has a boyfriend, or so it all kind of said it right on the title of the book. And the thing is, I just love this. I'm going to read this one out loud. Hansel and Gretel is a story about abandonment and how smart children can save themselves. So I think you maybe remember Hansel and Gretel. They were out in the woods. Oh, no, I won't tell you. Okay. It wasn't titled Daddy Dumped Me in the Forest. So that's just perfect, because many of the early gay and lesbian themed books certainly deal didactically with gay families. So just didactically, like just hammering it right over the head, like, this is what it is. And so Hansel and Gretel, again, great little story about a mean old stepmother, as usual, and a dad, and they wanted to get rid of Hansel and Gretel, so they, led him into the woods and then left him there, and they tried to get back home, and so they used breadcrumbs. Oh no, they finally got back home or something, and the next time that it happened, they put breadcrumbs out. And then there was a really cool witch and all that. But anyway, so the idea is not just to hammer it into just to a boring sort of this is what it is. And that is what happened at the early rollout of LGBTQ books, like Daddy's Wedding and My Two Uncles. And so you're not getting anything really great. I mean, they're sweet and everything. You're getting some stuff, but it's just always like, that's what it is. The whole story is blown around the cover. All families are different. Who's in a family? All families are special, right? So just kind of like, okay, here's the whole thing. There's not enough rich, interesting stories. We're just going to tell you why our family is different, and that's the whole book. The first book that really kind of started this off was Heather Has Two Mommies, and actually it wasn't as didactic. The title is, but it wasn't as didactic, like in your face, as a lot of these other books that I have suggested. And when it first came out, it was these black and white drawings and just kind of real, like, I don't know, I really liked them a lot, but they've changed it. So um, Heather Has Two Mommies has been, because this was the last time, but it still is one of the most banned books like in the world. And there's one of the little short 3-minute videos I'm having you watch. The author's talking about that, why it was banned. And then I have the newer version of the read aloud book, which got changed. The illustrations got changed when same-sex marriage was granted, legit in 2016. So it's an interesting book. Anyway, so I want you to look at that in the video. So the good news is that LGBTQ books are getting better. And oh my gosh, in the last couple of years, so much better, right? And that's the deal. We want books to get better. We want books to reflect the cultures, the ethnicities, the social cultures, the stories. We want that for all of our kids. So a lot of times now you'll see books that are there's going to be in the background, maybe it's going to be that, oh yeah, this kid has two moms, or has two dads, or something, but there's also something else going on in the book as well, and it's not all just that in your face. And Felicia's favorite story, it's about how her two moms adopted her, so the airplane ride and all of that. And King and family, again, it's two kings together, but they have all these adventures in the jungle, and there's cool stuff going on. So you get a fuller story, right? This is another book that has been banned a billion times, and it's about two penguins and a zoo, a true story about how they loved each other. Two male penguins, and they wanted to have a baby just like everybody else. So I have that in the posted, so you can look at that. But again, it's was a really banned book forever. And if you happen to look at that read aloud, I think it's interesting, which I finally realized after I watched it a couple times, is that they're always kind of off to themselves. So in a way, it's like, okay, we have this great, accepting book of folding in these lovely penguin dads, but in the book, a lot of times they're just hanging out alone. So what does that say? So, but things have gotten so much better. This is a fairly recent book, like really recent, this year recent, I believe, when Aiden becomes a brother, talking about, some identity change. So it's the kind of things that we need, right? These are the bolder books that are coming out now, the ones that just are rich and informative and interesting and reflective of what's going on in our society, in our world. So the young adult books, they've done a better job with it way back before the picture books, the children's picture books, and they address themes. Obviously they're going to address themes that are a little more edgy because it's for older kids. So I'm not saying that, but it's just, again, I think they started off doing some really strong things right from the get-go. So the young adult books, because you remember children's books go all the way up to 18 years of age. So that's the category I'm looking at here. So just some cool things, going on. And talking about xenophobia, July, so good issues, good things happening. This is a really popular book, Aristotle and Dante, and it's about two Mexican American teenage boys, falling in love, going, on some adventures, just some, dealing with all the stuff you deal with and just a really great and interesting stuff going on. Good award-winning books and for children and young adults. In the last 4 or 5 examples I showed you, you saw that they were that kids of color were reflected in these books as well. So that's another major thing that I continue to always worry about, that we're not having that representation. And this was just a graph I found. It goes up to 2019, and they're not even addressing the of color, people of color, kids of color books in here. They're doing more of the cisgender, which means you look like what you were born in, transgender, and problems related. But again, here you'll see that a lot of if we're just looking at male and female characters, we got a big old chunk, right? 56%, the red, and then where's wait somewhere else? The red and the red. Okay, oh, that 4%. So again, an overwhelming amount of LGBTQ books are still male, but I don't even know what to tell you in terms of color. So and let's just go back to this chart. That's the most current one in terms of what our children's books reflect, right? So we're still way off with all of that. But again, some cool and interesting and bigger topics are evolving more, and subtler topics, so not in your face topics that really reflect the evolution of some great children's literature for the LGBTQ community and for others, so that we do that whole um, reinforcing diversity and empathy and all of that. I just think that that part's just so important. So that's an exciting part. The canon of literature for LGBTQ stuff really started out like, oh, just about awful, right? But it had to start somewhere. It didn't do such great stuff at the beginning, but it's really, really gotten better. And again, it's the whole idea that what this multicultural children's literature does, what this diverse children's literature does, is gives us a chance to make sure that we're taking care of everyone in our society, taking care of all different kinds of cultures, and really cultivating that sameness and oneness, and we're here and stuff. And so always the question is, how do we counter all this stuff, right? How do we counter all this stuff? Is that we change the message. And there's my favorite quote: we change the message by providing some really great stories, really great ideas, really great philosophies, whatever you want to put, really great stuff, right? And so again, that's what's happening more with LGBTQ books. The idea that there's a story behind all of it. Yeah, there might be two dads or two moms or transgendered individual, whether a boy or girl or parents, or it's all going to be there, right? It's going to be there, but there's going to be a really good story too. That's what we want. So fun. There's so many good ones. This is a fairly recent one that I'm just so in love with. So if you have a chance, catch that one in the videos, the book links. Oh my gosh, it's so sweet. The illustrations are just to die for. And this is another one that has been around for a little bit, but what's really interesting is what the author Patricia Polacco has to say about it. And I think that it's about a 7-minute video that's it's in your video response thing, and the book is there as well. So I think that that's going to be a good thing to look at. And also in the video response is Heather has two mommies, and what was the big fuss about that? I think that's interesting. So anyway, that's about it. It's so heartwarming to me to know that books are getting better all over the place, and this is definitely a genre of books that are totally soaring right now. So thanks. Talk to you soon.